Welcome everyone to the L7C podcast, My Hero Academia edition. Today we have a super special episode for you all today because today marks the 100th episode of My Hero Academia. So besides our usual 4-episode recaps, which we're going to recap 8 through 12, we have some special stuff about the 100th episode. And when you're talking My Hero, we have our My Hero enthusiast. Andrea, how are you doing today, ma'am?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing great. Since we just finished watching the 100th episode, that milestone creeped up super quick.
Yeah, it did. Oh my gosh. You mentioned that to me and I was like, wait a minute, what, really? It feels like it's too soon for 100 episodes, but at the same time, so much has happened in these 100 episodes, it makes sense.
Yeah. So 5 seasons, 100 episodes. Like I said, we're going to review 8 through 12, and then we're going to have some special questions that we did for My Hero since it's the 100th episode. So where we left off at 8, unfortunately, it was a sour spot for Andrea because we left off the tie of Team Todoroki. And
it's fine. We're fine.
We talked about that on the last one. She was not really pleased. But then we went in, then we go into finally Bakugo's fight. If you guys remember, last time I said Bakugo is going to get this done one episode. Andrea said episode and a half. I was right. Bakugo got it done. His team won in one episode.
Less than an episode.
But I was going to say, Bakugo's team won before the halftime thing. If you watch My Hero, you know like halftime when they show like random hero and their quirk. Bakugo's team was already done. And I just... Team freaking Bakugo, if people remember, it was Bakugo... Cellophane, I don't even know.
Cellophane,
Zero, Tape Boy, if people there. Earphone Jack and Sugar Man. And they were against Jack Mantis, Lizard Lady? Lizardy, Plowmo, and Welder, who I do like Welder.
Welder's quirk is cool.
Yeah, it was super cool. And I just gotta say, Team Bakugo, that is all. Not only did they dominate, they beat them in under 5 minutes, and
it was 4-0. It was clean sweep. It was exactly what Bakugo was, posturing about going in. And unfortunately, as I say unfortunately because I'm not the biggest fan of his, I can give him mad props for his skills, though. We have seen him posture and be, cocky about his abilities previously, and of course he won the sports festival to back that up. And just like with this, he was going in, hot head, posturing. And Class 1B, Monoma especially being, the backup vocals for the commentary, being like, he's doing it again, we've grown, we've learned, and da-da-da-da. We know he's gonna go in, guns blazing, not gonna care about his teammates. The biggest thing is they did not anticipate any growth from Bakugo, and that was where Class B messed up.
Yeah, and you just have to see how that fight played out. I think this was the second biggest one-sided fight I've ever seen in My Hero. Number one is when Lemillion destroyed Class 1A.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I've not seen a destruction since Lemillion at the end of Season 3, because this was bad. And like Bakugo, when Andrea hinted at his growth, Bakugo now, which is on a new level, he wants complete victory. No injuries on his team. No injuries from bystanders, which you just saw a little bit in the 100th episode. Like 4-0 sweep. That he wants total
victory, and he now includes victory to include saving people, because that was like the big, philosophy difference between Deku and Bakugo, which also somewhat overlap, is they both want to win, but they want to win for different reasons. Bakugo was like, I want to be a hero because I want to win all the time. Deku's, I want to be a hero because I want to save people. And you see him through his thought process. I don't think he says this out loud, but he does mention in the episode, like, winning is saving everyone. So for him, with his personality especially, is exponential growth. But again, I'm not his biggest fan, and now I feel like I'm talking about him a little too much.
Yeah, I also think now, which I'll bring back the not biggest fan of you, I think now it's been, since season 2.5, 3, the Bakugo versus Todoroki fight discussion is officially dead. Like, if they fought right now...
Bakugo yes, he
would
takes it.
destroy him.
Okay, I know. Rub salt in the wound. It's fine.
I'm just saying. I mean, we all wondered... Everyone wondered, like, if Todoroki used his flames, I'm with you that I think he would have won that fight.
At that time.
So we've always wondered what would happen if those two fought. But now, it doesn't, especially because obviously Bakugo gets more screen time, Heroes Rising, all that stuff. But after seeing that, and after seeing Todoroki struggle against the Steel team, but then Bakugo just come and win 4 minutes after that in a sweep, yeah, that discussion is officially dead. For now, it's tabled.
That's what I was going to say. It's like, I'm hoping that argument can be revived, because I really... Obviously, there's been a lot of screen time around Deku and Bakugo, and so it has been self-isolating away from him as the third musketeer, so we need to see more of him, and we need more growth from him to kind of put him back, at least screen time, what we've seen on that level. And, I mean, he mentions in the 100th episode that he's still going to climb higher. Yeah. So. Well,
he's got to. So, yeah, Bakugo and them, that was nice and quick. Then we came...
Quick and dirty.
Yeah. Team Midoriya came in there. It was Midoriya, Grape Juice, Pinky, and Uraka. And they were going against Emily Mines, Phantom Thief, Rule, and Shinso. Remember, Shinso was in the first fight, and he was in this fight again. And there's a lot of crazy things that happen. I'm not going to spoil some of the craziest things, but Andrea was almost the smartest My Hero fan on planet Earth, because there was a scene where Monoma did touch Deku, and Monoma, everyone knows the One for All full cowling sounds by now, and Monoma had the green sparks, and Andrea literally shot up, and it's like, oh my gosh, and you got to check the episode to see if she was right, but she called it. Monoma touched him, and he lit green, and we were about to hear Monoma say One for All, even though he didn't know it, but like in our brains we were just like,
no way. I was legitimately, like you said, I got up, I screamed, guys, like out loud, I screamed. Oof, you just have to watch it, you do.
So yeah, and then we don't want to spoil the biggest things with Midoriya that happened, but there was I want to talk quickly, but they were talking about their strategy to beat Midoriya's team. I think it was Rule who said that Midoriya is, from her last scene, as good or a little bit better than Bakugo fighting wise, which I was even a little hesitant too after seeing that thing that Bakugo just did. But Monoma said a very good life quote that we're all supporting characters in someone else's main story, but sometimes you got to be the main character in their story. So when he said that, I was like, all right, that was a very good quote there, but
still don't like him. It's fine.
So, and yeah, I know, but it was a very good quote there. And Midoriya's team takes it. You're going to see how to take it. There's a lot of crazy things. The fight almost gets stopped. The fact
they did take it, though, with everything that was going on to start, because trust me, as soon as that went off, I was like, there's no way. There's no way. Honestly, for me, without spoiling too much, I feel like Shinso is the MVP of the whole fight.
I have one of my next things is that Shinso was the MVP of the first half of season 5.
That's true.
I mean,
sure.
He saved that fight, and then obviously the beginning fight, and I think this fight was crazy too because it's obviously about Midoriya and Shinso, but I know you hate him, but
Yes,
Mineta. It's crazy that Mineta put so much. He put in work.
He did, and I told you, like, even at, of course, you still had to have a moment where he smashes right into Pinky's breast.
Yeah,
but
always have to have the moment there. But the fact that when you're thinking about how much he improved with like his grape thing, that he could put the vine and like anytime something like that is wild. And it's crazy because Pinky, the biggest moment from her, I felt like, is when Mineta went into her breast, and also because they were making sure you realize what Mina looked like, because they were emphasizing her a lot.
They were, and honestly, that irritated me a little bit because all of the females in My Hero are built a certain way, except for Jiro, unfortunately. But they really went
emphasizing her.
The extra mile for her, and that really just like rubbed me the wrong way.
And then with Uraraka, I guess my only thing is Uraraka, for who are big Uraraka fans out there, she had her biggest moment since season 2, which is like, I don't know how to feel about that because it's her biggest moment since season 2.
And it wasn't I am a Uraraka fan, not as much as Momo, but like because I called it. I was like, don't count her out, and she came in, but the moment wasn't as big as it could have been, and I felt deflated, and like, it is disappointing that that's her biggest moment since season 2, and it wasn't as much as it could have been.
Yeah, because, like, that gap since season 2, we're on the 100th episode. Season 2 is what, like, 20s? So, like that's a huge... And then her biggest moment in season 2 was early season 2, like right during the sports festival.
Right.
Like, it's just like, ooh, that's a long gap. And it's like, is this... But your biggest moment wasn't even because, like, it was involving, well, her in the fight where she hit a little chop, but then also helping Midoriya with an issue that you'll see when you will watch the episode. So Midoriya's team did win, so Class 1A did.
And they swept, I'm pretty sure.
They did sweep, but...
No, they got 4-0. There were 5.
5. So, yeah, 5. Because they did sweep, and, I mean, won. And Team 1A, Class A is like, they won the whole thing, but did they? Because we talked last time, like, honestly, besides, God, Bakugo, Mineta, Uhura, like, and, well, when he was on our side, Shinso, no one else really impressed us on Class 1A. Like, it was kind of like, we were more impressed with the Class 1B people, which... Well, we previewed season 5. I was like, that's what we wanted, but...
True, but at the same time, I was like, we wanted that, but in scale with Class 1A to be like, we haven't seen them as much either. And it's easy to be impressed by Class 1B, especially since there were a lot of characters in Class 1B that weren't really showcased during the sports festival. So it's like, ooh, brand new, shiny things. But we wanted kind of that impressive, changes and growth with Class 1A as well. And... just didn't scale out that way, at least not for most of the characters.
Yeah, so Class 1A won scorecard, but I feel like Monoma even said, like, Class 1B really, they outshined them. Like, it was to the point where it was almost embarrassing. We already talked about Shinso, like, he was the MVP of these first 12 episodes, and you'll see what his faith is, because remember, he's trying to get in the hero course, so you'll see what happens there. So then once that's all done, we hit into, like, the 100th, and we get a little flashback into a couple seasons, but Bakugo and Todoroki still haven't passed their provisional thing, so we could spoil that. They have to go back and pass that. We can't spoil what happened at the beginning of the episode, because that'll spoil what happened to Midoriya, so you have to check that out, because Bakugo and All Might are helping him. There is one thing of episode 100 that I truly love. My girl Eri is back with my guy Lemillion, and we had Eraser. And we had Monoma. Yeah, Monoma had to come help. Can't spoil that either for y'all. You have to check the episode why Eraser wanted to get him to come help with Eri. But
it's also important that, you pay attention to what that is, because it also gives you an insight as to how Midoriya's quirk is set up. So, not to spoil too much, I'm not going to say anything.
So then, so when we go, it's a provisional thing, and then you see the Wind Dude and Cammy and all, and then there was this green lady who we had no idea who she was. But then you had Bakugo and Todoroki in the car with All Might, and of course, as soon as they passed, we could say that villains came.
Oh, yeah.
And then you see Bakugo and Todoroki put in some work 30 minutes after getting their provisional thing, and like we talked about with Bakugo, there was a moment there where, again, he wants no injuries, no casualties. Like, the old Bakugo would have let the person who a pipe almost fell through, but he's like, nope, saved them, and went back to kick some.
And he, secured the stolen items way ahead of time. We didn't even know. So
his improvement is crazy. And then also, we finally, if you've been watching the episodes and you don't stop after the episode and you watch the end credits, we finally know what the party is about.
Yes.
So definitely you'll be like, oh, so this is what the party is. And then that was really like the 100th episode. Like, it showed that this part is over. So now we're probably going to get into the villains stuff, which is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
We saw in the previews where some of them were talking about there's something maybe devious going on. In the episode 100, we saw some super shady building.
Yep. On the news for some reason. Couldn't quite make it out personally, but it's like, this is not looking good. But with Bakugo and Todoroki getting their provisional licenses, as well as, Class 1A, that means they're all capable of doing hero work at this time. And it looked like in the preview that might be the start. I do think the villains are going to come back in, but it is going to be interesting to see what exactly the type of hero work everybody's best suited for, and if anyone is trying to force themselves into a category that might not be a natural fit, but they come into anyway. So that'll be interesting, I feel like, going forward.
That is agreed, and we're going to have to wait and see on that. But let's go into the 100th episode special part of this. Obviously, it is the 100th episode, which is so wild. So I came up with some questions to commemorate the 100th episode, and we're just going to be talking about these questions. We do have lists for you guys, like we have our top 5 fights, moments we want to see, and then do the general questions. But the first general question we had is, what is My Hero 100 episodes in now, Andrea, meant to you personally?
That's a really tough question to open with, honestly. And I don't know. I just feel like My Hero for me has been a reprieve of like a very happy. Maybe the show itself isn't necessarily always happy, but it brings me joy. It gives me a lot of faith in humanity in general, which is kind of sad. But we're not going to dive into that too much. But it makes me happy. It very much reminds me of the feelings I'd get watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. Just it does. It just makes me very, very happy.
Yeah, I think with me, like we've talked about this when we previewed My Hero, it came out at the exact right time.
Yeah.
Like anime wise, like superheroes is literally pop culture personified now. Like you feel left behind if you miss a superhero movie. So now that they made an anime, which shows a different side of like superheroes. Obviously, you see them going to school, like training and all that stuff, and
that they wanted to be heroes from
the beginning,
young kids, because at least the way like Marvel started, it was like they were adults and kind of pushed into it. And I didn't delve too deep into DC because I prefer Marvel, but it very much seems like it's an adult happenstance. They kind of fumble into it or pushed into it. Yeah,
most of them is. I mean, the only person who would really fit in teenage-wise, because it started as a teenage hero, would have been Spider-Man. Like, Fair. He would have been perfect in the My Hero thing. But no, it's been a great thing. Obviously, I get super excited to watch it. Like, it's been an anime where I think for me, it's opened up for, like, the other animes to give them a chance, because, like, we're at the age where Naruto was like our last big.
Oh, I know that we started real young, and it capped out right as we were hitting like our adulthood, which is creepy and
so
weird.
It's like after that, like what's next? And then you're like, I don't really want to watch anything, because like Naruto is also that bridge from like people who watch like Dragon Ball Z and like Sailor Moon and things like that. So it was like after Naruto, it's like, what is there? Then like My Hero was the first thing. It's like, oh, this is cool. Then you give other things a chance, and like Demon Slayer, etc., etc. So then, how is like this anime, My Hero, has it changed your life in any way?
I mean, the most obvious way it's changed my life is doing this. I've never been on a podcast before.
And now you're a pro. Like, you just hop in. From the first one to now, it's so different.
Oh, I forgot. We're not on camera. I just dusted my shoulder. Sorry, guys. This is probably the biggest way, and also just opening up a lot more channels of communication, friendship. Not that our friendship is solely based on My Hero, but I feel like it helped us to open up and become closer friends. And I don't know, just like going back to the first question, what it has meant to me personally, it just, seeing the memes, it's just another avenue for me to enjoy life, I feel like, and has brought me a whole new group of friends through becoming friends with you.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree. Like this anime, I guess with us definitely deepened our friendship to like another level, and then like from that to obviously even deepening it to an omega different level to what we are now. So with that anime too is just like another thing, like if either of us are like having a bad day at work, like, hey, we just got to make it to Saturday because we're gonna get a new episode of My Hero, and then that joy comes, and then we're sitting there at work when we're there, and then we're just in the rabbit hole talking about. I remember like before we even did the podcast, we would sit there and talk about like wild predictions, because my thing, I know All Might's previous, his master, and Midoriya's mom are related. I don't know how, but that was one of the first things I brought up to Andrea, and I had the pick stitch ready, and then she was just like, holy, I was like we get in those rabbit holes. So it's definitely giving us that line, and obviously with the friends and all that stuff, and then we watch it here with Courtney, and like we talk about My Hero with the others. So it's been really great from our definitely personal bonding between the two of us. But now from that stuff, from the anime answers, since we just gave protagonist shonen anime answers about friendships and bonds, let's hop into the stuff I know the people want to hear. Let's top 5 fights of My Hero. So, Andrew, we'll start from 5, like your 5th one, and then work your way up.
Okay.
So, I'll go 5, then you'll go 5, then
Okay.
I'll go 4, then we'll just pass back and forth and talk about it for a little bit.
Okay.
My number 5 fight,
All right.
because I wrote the season down, Season 2, Sports Festival, Uraraka vs. Bakugo, because I had it number 5.
Yeah,
because I hinted at her best moment since Season 2.
Yep.
And anyone who's listening, you watch Season 2, and that was her best moment. It showed her as probably one of the strongest shonen female anime protagonists, probably since the Sailor Moon crew. She in her beginnings, because obviously if people want to bring up like Sakura and all them, they weren't that strong at the beginning.
She definitely was not. No. Like,
but I'm just
Sakura versus Shippuden. Shippuden's a totally different argument.
Because I'm just thinking, like, from beginning, like, that was probably the strongest I've ever seen anyone, like, emphasize on a female character. Going against top 2, he won the sports festival. And
right, and he was, and he had the personality that he did then, and kind of that ruthless reputation, and the whole situation around that fight was even the bystanders, the pro heroes in the stands were like, hey, like, take it easy, like, she's just a girl, and everybody was shocked when she didn't almost have it, I feel like, just a little bit more, but she spun everything on ahead, and even the pro heroes were like, dang, we shouldn't be judging her skills based on her being a girl, like, she had her moment. But
that was, I guess, with that girl thing, that was another reason why that moment is my top 5 fights, because, especially in anime, because obviously women and men hit each other all the time, Bakugo did not see her as a girl.
Right.
He saw her as a worthy opponent. And Bakugo even said as, like, who said she's weak?
Right.
That was that's the biggest validation Uraraka's gotten in the whole series. Like, Bakugo did not...
I know, you saying that just gave me chills all over again, because it's true, because even Deku was, and he's the one with the crush on her, is like, oh, I came up with this strategy for you, this is how I think you need to do this, like, oh my goodness, like, this is going to be, if you don't use this is not his words, obviously, it could be, you could get killed. Bakugo was the only one who was like, no, I trust that she is going to put up a fight. Why would you guys think she wouldn't?
Yeah, especially in the times that we were in, like, him, Bakugo, who is a hot-headed a-hole at that time, fully respecting she did see in the appearance sometimes, but when it came to that fight, he did not see a woman, he saw an equal. That's why it was my top 5. What's your 5th?
So my 5th, because I bumped Bakugo versus Uraraka to honorable mention, my 5th fight is Kirishima and Facom versus Rappa during the overhaul arc. Kirishima just, for me, came out of nowhere, and it's not nowhere per se in the storyline, but he wasn't necessarily one of the characters I really had my eye on until, he had his moment one-on-one with that villain, but until this particular moment with Facom. Plus, also getting to explore what Facom's quirk could be was very interesting for me. And I just very much enjoyed that, level of trust bond, and Kirishima's, plus ultra mentality. What is his biggest thing about being manly?
Yeah, being manly, being Red Rocket, unbreakable. I would say with Kirishima, I mean, he was definitely the top. He was in top 5 most important people of season 4. I mean, because obviously the 4, not in any order: Eri, Midoriya, Lemillion, Overhaul. I'll say Kirishima. I mean, that's a good one on you. My number 4, though, I know you won't be able to see this coming, but I really felt like this truly set the tone. Sun Eater versus the Yakuza. Season 4.
That's a good one. Amajiki, yes.
To start the raid, because he was going against 3 people.
At once.
He was one of the big 3, and he obviously has anxiety issue, like things like that. And you see how Lemillion, like, helped him get out of his shell, which is crazy to think he was in that's wild. But I felt like that one is super under the radar, because that started what this raid was be about. Like, we were going to get casualties, and seeing why he's in the big 3.
Yep.
I loved that fight, and that's why that one's number 4.
That is a good one.
What was your number 4?
My number 4 is Midoriya versus Todoroki in the sports festival when just the animation, the moment when Todoroki is using his fire side and then cement. Isn't his name Cement? Not Cementos. That's Pokemon. Oh my god.
I know you're talking about the cement dude who put that's another what if. If they would have collided, who would have won?
Personally, I feel like Todoroki would have won because Deku was messed up. Mm-hmm. Physically, he was so messed up. But of course, that never stops him. But that was a pivotal moment in Todoroki's like development and growing in his abilities. Unfortunately, we haven't seen that exponential of a change. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we get that soon. But the other thing is we start to see Deku's, level of Takno Jutsu coming through. So
fair enough. That was your number 4. My number 3 was actually your number 5.
Okay.
It was Kirishima and Fat Gum versus Kendo and Tengai. Just because, like we already stated, like he really just shot through another level in season 4, and because if people
like a red rocket,
good pun on you. Because if people remember, Sun Eater is, I would say, Fat Gum's protege, just like Lemillion was Night Eyes. So, like, he was setting the way for them, and they got that fight, and you see him when he thought about Mina, like, whatever their thing, we're like, oh, well, there's that married couple coming in 2020, whatever, but
I'm not for it, but whatever.
That was my top 3, because you also saw Fat Gun get super skitty, and, like, they were going, and, like, you for a split second thought, Kirishima is dead.
Dead, yeah.
And, like, again, like, from the Sun Eater to Kirishima, you really start seeing the stakes of what they're doing. So that was my number 3. What was yours?
My number 3 was I did Bakugo and Midoriya season 3.
The end of season, yeah.
Again, I think I might just be a sucker for really quality animation because I still think about the moment where Midoriya does that like mid-air spin and the kick that barely misses the front of Bakugo's face. Like it was just so well animated and the emotional stakes. Plus, we also have that essentially breakdown moment for Bakugo where he's like, why am I the one that ended All Might? Why? And you finally get a crack into like his emotional status. Again, we do see him as a hot-headed asshole, but we start to see that there's more. Like any human being, there's more than one facet, but it also doesn't come out as the like anime stereotype where as soon as you get that crack he's got a 100 totally 180 personality change. So I do appreciate that. Do I wish he was still a little nicer? Yes, but that was an amazing fight.
No, that was really good. The only reason I do not have that on my top 5, and the only reason is because I think they're going to have another real fight, and that's going to top that. That's the only reason
I did not
have it on that top one. My number 2, when you hear it, because I don't think it's on your list, you're going to kick yourself.
I swear.
Number 2, which I personally think would have been number 1 if it wasn't for my number 1. Midoriya, Todoroki, and Ida versus Stain. Season 2. The Hero Killer. Before my number 1, that was my number 1 fight of My Hero. That fight, that was one of the best fights. From an emotional thing, Deku just learns full cowling. Todoroki's using his flame. Ida's trying to get revenge for his brother. Stain is trying to rid the world of these superficial heroes, and the only one who could kill him is All Might. Like, and he acknowledges Midoriya as a real hero. And then, like, when the music starts playing, when Todoroki says go, and Ida's foot heats up and he goes, and then Midoriya's like one for all, full cowling, and he punches him on one side. Ida kicks him on the other, and you get that shot at the end.
That's so, yeah.
That is the second best fight in My Hero, in my opinion.
Oh, man. Man. You were right. Yep. Kicking myself. I completely... Not that I forget about that fight, because that is a pivotal fight. It's just... I don't know. I think I wanted to do a lot of main characters versus each other. That might have been my downfall, because legitimately, my number 2 is... Midoriya and Bakugo in Heroes Rising against 9.
That is a very good fight. Now it kind of tainted it because I found that plot hole from when you watched Midoriya and like so. But no, that was a really good one. Obviously, if you've seen the movie, Midoriya gives Bakugo 1 for all 4-bit, and they beat 9, and 9 was like a baby all for one clone. And
yep, with major drawbacks. But yeah. I think that also just points to my own bias towards visually beautiful fights, because that fight fantastic. Was so, oh my god, it was so pretty.
No, it was one of the best. It's crazy now because now it kind of gets underappreciated because we just had Rengoku versus Akaza.
Oh, I know.
So now people underappreciate, because just 2 years before that, 2019, which that was a lot of anime heads' last movie before COVID started.
Yeah, it was the last movie I saw right before the COVID shutdown, actually.
No, but that one would be an honorable mention to me, because it's just like, I can't put that over the Satan fight. I just can't. I just couldn't do it. And like,
fair enough.
But my number one, which I combined, and I actually listed all the reasons why. Number one is the Lemillion and Deku fights against Overhaul, Season 4. Basically, all my top fights came from Season 2 and 4. Mm-hmm. I just realized that. But start off with Lemillion's one. If you remember when Lemillion beat the dog hell out of Class 1A.
Yep.
And this is when Endeavor's still alive. Eraserhead, who we have deemed, obviously he is their Kakashi.
Yep.
He said Lemillion is the closest to being the number one hero right now. As a senior in high school. While all these top heroes are still like
playing at being number one.
Which was super telling, because obviously Eraser is there with All Might, so that was super telling. You saw why he was the closest to being number one. When he had his quirk, he was beating the hell out of Overhaul. Like, they admitted that he is stronger than Overhaul. They had to use the quirk stealing gun bullet to take him out. And even when he didn't have his quirk, he did not let Eri get touched once. Mm-hmm. And just a shout back to like Rengoku did not let anyone die in the Demon Slayer movie, and Lemillion did not let Eri get touched one time, no matter what. And then obviously when you go from that fight straight to Deku and Overhaul, which was obviously the 2020 fight of the year. And it's also the first time you get the Might You song by Michaela Phillips debuting, which was played in the movie as well. That helped that fight. So, yeah. And you saw the animation, you saw Deku go 100%. You have an English song going. You're just like, oh, they spent a lot of money for this episode. And I remember tweeting.
For these moments, not even that.
Yeah, for those moments. And I remember tweeting out, I was like, after, like, this is now Deku's era. Like,
this is it.
You had, which now, after Tanjiro is going to have something to say about that now.
Oh,
but
for sure.
At that point in time, I was like, it was Goku's era. It was Naruto, Ichigo. Well, he's still going.
Luffy,
it was their,
Luffy's still going.
It was their era. After he went 100%, and you remember that shot where he turned and his eye lights up?
Yes.
And like when they had the 100 million punches, I was like, this is Midoriya's era. Those two combined, I combined them. That was the best fight in My Hero Academia. What is your number one?
My number one, I did not include the Lemillion mashup versus Overhaul, but my number one was Deku v Overhaul. Just, that fight was amazing. It was a culmination of all his hard work. A little bit of luck as well, that Ares' quirk would be able to not regenerate. Regenerate's not the right word, but essentially keep him from hurting himself, so he was able to beat Overhaul. If he didn't have Ares, this would have been a different story.
Which is kind of crazy too, because I would like to include, like, Lemillion didn't need Ares to beat Overhaul,
right?
Which is, you see how wild that is,
right?
Like I'm just like, and which we don't want to go in this rabbit hole, but
do we not?
If Overhaul deemed Deku as strong, which he was not, which I don't even know if he's still, I don't think he's still close now if Lemillion had his powers. If he deemed him the same threat, and Midoriya actually would have got hit with that quirk stealing, like, would that have shut off One For All, though? Because after what we've seen, One For All is different, but that was never brought up, like, why don't we just shoot him with the bullet? You used it on Lemillion because you were getting your ass whooped.
Right.
But that's a rabbit hole question for everyone listening. If Deku was hit by that bullet, would One For All have disappeared? That's the thing. But no, we had some of the same fights on there. There's a little different stuff. I know you are really kicking yourself about forgetting about the Stain fight.
I know. Oh my goodness. Yes.
But we'll go into now our top 5 moments of My Hero. Since I started 5, this time you get to start. What was your 5th?
My 5th favorite moment for the entire series is going back to the My Hero Heroes Rising movie is the moment where we see Midoriya and Bakugo both using One for All. Just
the Detroit Smash to
yes,
change the weather.
Just both of them lighting up and just, oh my god, that gave me chills watching it. I was so excited to see that movie a second time because of that moment. It was just, that's one of my favorite moments, but it is only number 5.
My number 5, I'm going to go to Deku's first Smash. The first one, because it was the first time we saw One for All on his body, and he hit that thing, and then you have All Might like narrating in the background, and it set the tone like, oh, okay, this is what we're going to be doing. So I wanted to shout that out. That was my number 5. What was your number 4?
My number 4 is one of the earliest moments, and it's so funny seeing it flashback because you can tell the animation was a little bit different at that time. But seeing the moment where Midoriya just instinctively runs to help Bakugo when he does not have the quirk. He does not know he's going to be able to get a quirk or become a hero for sure, but that's still what he wants with all his being, and he's charging in after his frenemy, I'll say, who puts him down for wanting to be a hero without a quirk, who, for somebody who is so proud, has a giant ego, looks scared to death being covered by that sludge, villain. And honestly, part of the reason that moment is my number 4 is the look on Bakugo's face, because we don't see he never talks about it. We never see kind of any reflection of that level of fear in him again. And I think it kind of peeked the curtains a little bit towards his inner thoughts and feelings towards Deku going forward. A little bit earlier than we would have seen, but it is a moment that the show flashes back towards a bunch.
My number 4, because I was really like thinking of moments like crazy stuff. And I don't know if you'll see this one coming. Never Stop Twinkling. Class 1A.
No, I didn't know
Season
it.
3 with I had to make sure with Yuga, that sounds like protagonist in Yu-Gi-Oh! With his hero name, Shining Hero Can't Stop Twinkling. The reason I had that as season 3, obviously the music's going. That was one of the biggest side character moments of the whole series.
Yeah.
Like, he's trying to, and then because of his naval laser, everyone from the rest of Class 1A gets to pass. And that was super cool. I also had a side for number 4 too, because I also had Class 1A when Eraser talked about Midoriya and Bakugo. As like when he was talking to that other professor about like, there's 2 kids in my class who, no matter what, they changed the course of everything.
But they because they're so, I don't want to say at each other's throats like it's a bad thing, but their rivalry is so like contagious that they each want to do better to outdo each other, that it's brought up the level of intensity, desire for the rest of the class. So I had that speech and the Never Stop Twinkling as tied for number 4. Okay. What was your number 4? No, we're on 3 now. You're on 3. Yeah, 3. So what was your number 3? My number 3 is going back to a moment I've already talked about, is the shot seeing Deku at 100% not being continuous. He is continuously being injured, but not to the detriment that he had been before. Seeing that shot of him, and essentially it's a power stance. It's kind of a Bakugo stance if you think about it, with Ares strapped to his back, all of the lights going, the intensity in his eyes, just, oof, that gave me goosebumps. When I saw it, it's giving me goosebumps now. I love that moment. So that's my number 3. My number 3, since it also gives us something to look forward to. I'm sorry to cut you off. That's true. No, you're fine. Number 3, Eerie grabbing Lemillion's cape. Because that's when Might You, the song, started going. And you're just like, what? And like, she finally trusted in 2 people. And like, seeing that moment is, for people who generally don't trust people, like, you know, it's a breakthrough when you fully trust someone, that she jumped on that cape because she remembered that was his cape and what he had been doing for her, and that, you know, it wasn't true that she wasn't worth the effort and all she is trouble. So that was a very powerful moment. That's what I had for number 3. What was your number 2? My number 2 is also Eri inspired. It's the moment that she smiles at the sports festival. Honorable mention for me. Good concert too. It was a good concert. That moment for me was just because of the work that we do, and you know, the level of trauma that she went through. That she's a very cute child, but up until that moment, she did not express any sort of joy, any sort of happiness, any sort of, I don't want to say will to live, because that's a little too far, but like, in the sense she was just existing. Until that moment, she came alive in that moment, and for me, like, that was the entire point of that moment, but it gave me hope.
You also see, like,
people.
the demon thing, like,
just lifting from her.
That's a good number.
Yeah.
Number 2. My number 2, which I do think you're going to kick yourself again, because my number 2s have killed you.
I swear.
Number 2, United States of Smash. I mean, that was the final time we ever got to see All Might. That was the final and full power. That was the final fight with All for One. We saw how dangerous All for One is. You see everyone chanting for All Might, like all the things, and then he hits that victory pose, and it's like,
I think that victory pose,
that moment was just like, you don't go out a bigger boss than how he did in that fight. So I had that as my number 2. What was your number 1?
My number 1 is, you know, what set it all off is All Might doing that, you know, almost victory pose to Midoriya. You can be a hero. Just without that moment, obviously, we wouldn't have the rest of the rest of the manga, the anime. But it was just so impactful for Midoriya, and for him to, you know, he had always had that dream. All Might at first did not believe in him. And then he finally had that aha moment of seeing him rush in for my number, which was it? My number 4 moment on instinct, without, you know, having a plan, without knowing that he had the power, but knowing that he had to help. That All Might changed his mind and, you know, let him know that he himself could be a hero, and that I think it just brings me a lot of satisfaction. And I know it's replayed a lot in the flashbacks, but it's just such an important moment.
My number 1 is the same. Season 1, you can be a hero for all the reasons you said. Started it all. It's going to be flashback throughout until this series is over.
I want a tally. I kind of want a running tally of every time it's flashback.
Anytime he says it to someone, I was like, oh, and that's who's going to get passed on to next. He obviously said it to in the movie to Heroes Rising, but I mean, that was a premise, and you can be a hero. That started it all. I did a few honorable mentions just off the top of my head, which were what ifs. I would have loved to see Deku, Bakugo, and Todoroki finish that swimming thing. That was that. And obviously, Deku, 1,000,000% against Muscular. Just honorable things. Moments you would like to see. You could just rattle some off the top.
I mean, it's cliche, but part of what draws me into My Hero a little bit as well is the potential love pairing. So I would like to see a little bit, just a smidge of development there. At least for my personal favorite couple, which is Todoroki and Momo. But
thought you had something, 100th episode.
I did. That was a tease, and I'm very upset about it. But the other thing is just, I very much want to see what's going to continue to happen with Deku's quirk. I want to know. I don't read the manga as of right now. I'm debating, honestly, if I should start. But I want to know what the heck the next turn is, because it's sounding like, without giving too much of a spoiler, Deku's running into a lot of firsts that All Might didn't experience. So it's like, okay, what else is in this bag?
Which is kind of crazy, because All Might was the most powerful hero ever, and he didn't hit the things that Deku's about to experience. It's like, new what if? What if All Might got all this stuff? I know, wild stuff, but no, I agree. My number, I kind of had them listed in numbers, but my number 1, I'm just gonna go one of you. I was like, get the love confessions out of the way. Let's just do this. Let's get the show too, and let's just get it out of the way. I don't want to have it like
they're only sophomores in high school. That's the other thing, though. Is like, that's the unfair part about it. Is like, I mean, technically, like,
well, remember, sophomores in high school and shonen like this, they're like our age. Like they're but I'm like, just get out the way. Just say you love them, blah blah. I mean,
I do want Uraraka to do that just so that they can put their feelings, because essentially at this point, Midoriya has put his feelings aside to focus on being a hero. I need Uraraka to do the same, because it seems like she's said that she's going to do that, but it still seems to be kind of interfering in her kind of daily thoughts and processes.
So that was one of my things. I'm just going to keep going. Other characters getting in big fights and winning. This was inspired off of your 2 favorite people, Momo and Shoto.
Yep.
Like, they need to get some wins.
They do. They
Momo
need some W's.
Momo got stomped, and Todoroki, I mean, It was looking bad. That was bad. It was a tie, but your show, you lost. So it's like I need those other people to get wins, like what Red Riot got, and now obviously like I need them to get big wins, personal wins like that. And I'll just go on the other one. More top 10 heroes fighting, because obviously since this has started, we've only seen Endeavor and Hawks. So I want to see like 3 through 10 go through it. Same thing as you, Deku realizing his true potential, like seeing how that goes. And one that I will not let go, because some of my hero fans have let go. I want to know who the traitor is from season 1. The reason they moved to that place was because of the traitor. I want to know who it is. Because that will open up so many. Because that's going to open up a lot of things once they find out who the traitor is.
I know. I kind of let that go as well now that I'm thinking about it. It's like, it's been at the back of my mind, but also at the same time, I feel like that's not the primary focus.
Not anymore, no.
Right, so But in the next 100 episodes, you think it'll happen that... 100 episodes is a long time and a short time, depending on how long a series is going to run. So... I
mean, if something else happens at the school again, and they're like...
That's true.
It's the traitor, whoever it is, because...
I personally want to get into more of the villains' backstories in the next 100 episodes to kind of fully understand them. I know there's the teasing going around about a villain potentially being related to the Todorokis. We already know that Shigaraki is related to All Might's predecessor. Kind of what the hell happened there. And honestly, I just want to know more about Shigaraki's like intentions, because right now, at least to me, the way I'm understanding, and I could be very
so that's one thing.
Could be very wrong, is that he's kind of just a hurt little kid throwing a tantrum.
Yeah.
Because like as a villain, overall was way better, and honestly, like the fact that Shigaraki got to like kind of one up him and unilaterally beat him after he got beat up by the heroes.
Well, he did that to 9 too.
Yeah, but 9 was also like a pawn for the League, essentially.
But he was, I mean, if he would have survived, he would have been next up. Like, All For One would have dumped Shigaraki because he has so much.
I just also want to know.
Oh, free Stain. Throwing that out there. Free my hero killer Stain.
Oh my god, no.
Let him come back and, oh, Lord.
Ooh, could we let him out and let him out Endeavor? Because that would be great.
Jesus, that would be wild.
That would be freaking wild. That'd be so great. I also kind of want to see in the next 100 episodes more dynamics within the Todoroki family that we did a case study on earlier in a different podcast. But like, I want to know how that stuff is going. I want to know how things are playing out. I also want to know if Mom's coming home, because that's gonna like add a whole nother level of on top of everything else. So yeah, Todoroki's got a lot of stuff to go through. He's got to get stronger. He's got to deal with his family drama. He's potentially got a villain for a relative. Like, well,
I feel like for him, I felt like that's your number one. Like, he needs to improve a lot in these next 100 episodes.
But with the movie coming out, personally, I feel like they're somehow going to make it that he improves exponentially by the end of the season, so that way it's timed well with the movie.
But does he improve enough to be standing side by side next to Midoriya and Bakugo? Or does he improve enough to be a little bit behind a la like a Joey Wheeler, where you have a Yugi, Kaiba, and then you have Joey?
That's not even a little. Joey's more than a few steps behind. Sorry, Joey.
But I did love you, I mean, he's...
No.
I mean, right now, Todoroki is a lot of steps behind.
I know.
So,
well, my other, the other trio that gets brought to mind for me is, I know they're not necessarily like a thought of trio, but like Goku, Vegeta, and then you got Krillin. Like,
well, Krillin's the best friend, and Todoroki started. I feel like he kicked Ida out of the best friend spot right now.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. But no, I don't want that situation for Todoroki. I don't want it.
You could say more if you're going to go that route, because Todoroki has so much potential. You can say he's Gohan. But Gohan also had the pinnacle moment of Dragon Ball Z and going Super Saiyan 2 against Cell, and Todoroki has not had that. But now, post that, Gohan's behind, but if he trained, he'd be right up with them. So if he trains, but that means he's going to train with his dad, and we know how you feel about that. But
he's got to master his quirk. It's one of those things, but like at the same time, it's like, can't there be like another fire user or something that he could talk to? But guess not.
Oh, I'll throw in just a quick one. If did we see Blue Genius again? He got that hole.
Yes! Oh my god!
He got that hole put through him, and that was it.
He survived. Okay, that's the other like what if or like the BS. Why does Best Genius survive like a giant hole in his chest, but then Night Eye gets dies? Also, All Might had a giant hole in his chest, and he still was a hero for several years afterwards. What is that?
The many what ifs. One of the many what ifs. We're gonna have to just do one time. We're just gonna have to do an episode where we just list like what ifs and just go through that rabbit hole, because that's a whole episode in itself, and that would be a very, very fun one to do. But Andrew, we are at the end. Episodes 8 through 12 are in the books. The 100th episode is in the books. We are done with Class A versus Class 1B. We're going to get into some new stuff next week. Any other last things you want to say about My Hero, the 100th episode, anything?
I'm just ready for the next 100.
Man, and if they go at this pace, that would be halfway through season 10.
I'm down for it. How old will we be then? Probably...
I mean,
mid-30s.
That's not even that old. But
it's not, but it's just like, damn. Like, I'm still going to be watching these high schoolers pulling for them or rooting for them.
Hot take before we leave. The next 100 episodes, will One Piece finally be done in between these My Hero next 100? Because they're, on like 1,000 something?
Honestly, I don't watch One Piece, I will say that.
There's a million episodes.
I do know that because that's the longest running joke for the longest running anime, but honestly, probably not.
That's wild. That's wild. But no, last things, definitely always love doing these My Hero podcasts with Andrea, and like we were just talking on this for like an hour, and we're probably going to get off this and talk about more stuff like,
that's true,
X, Y, Z and this, but thank you all for listening to the My Hero stuff. Obviously, we see that you guys like it. To My Hero, to the creators and all that, congrats on making 100th episode. That is no small easy feat at all, and keeping everyone entertained and all of that,
engaged, and keeping the content relatable, and just we love it. Thank you.
I am salty because when you guys announced season 5, you dropped the movie trailer. I thought on the 100th episode you were going to drop the second movie trailer. So we'd have more to talk about, but you didn't, and I'm going to be really mad after we record and you drop the trailer. But I'm excited for that trailer, My Hero movie. It's coming out in August or September in Japan. Yeah. So hopefully we get that fall, winter, not too far behind. Or if they could simul-dub it, that'd be fantastic. But with that being said, congrats to My Hero getting 100th episode, and you guys take care. Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.